Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Are we all here? All of us are going to be here. Thanks for having us today at the Tech for Marketing show. Really pleased to be here. First year that we're here, so great to see the community and kind of get engaging with everyone. I'm here with Hugh from Grip, and today we're going to talk about why events should be a part of your marketing mix if they're not already, and how you can maximize your presence at events, whether it's organizing, exhibiting, or attending. We're here basically to promote events in general, which is probably where it comes on to my expertise in the area. So I run Exhibition News. One of the titles is part of Max Media. Essentially, we are the centralized news for anything in events. So conferences, exhibitions, festivals, anything live, that's what we do. And we're seeing a bigger mix between marketing and events, which is why we're trying to lean into it and understand a bit more of the psyche of people and how we can improve standards. Next to me here, I've got Hugh Leith from Grip. Hugh, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself, your experience, and what Grip do?
Yep, this is my favorite bit because I get to talk about myself. My name's Hugh. I'm the SVP of Marketing at Grip. Grip is an AI-powered platform for events. I think of us like Tinder, but for large conferences and trade shows. So we connect the right people at the right time to have meetings, and we work with organizers like Max Media. We do things like South by Southwest. Do things like, what's another one? Shop Talk, which is the biggest retail event in the world. We'd also do Money 2020, biggest fintech event in the world. So lots and lots of events. And why I'm here today and why Max has asked me to come here is that I've got about 22 years experience in B2B marketing. I know, it's my birthday tomorrow. I don't look old enough. 44, got all the lines. Grey beard, it's happening. And I have done a bunch of things. I've worked for various agencies all my life in marketing. I went to M&C Saatchi, I was a director there, headed up B2B, worked with Spotify, Google, Twitter, now X. I left, did my own agency, did a bunch of other startups, created the world's first beer brewed using AI in 2016. Created an event tech platform myself, and the good news is all of that spectacularly failed. Burned through a lot of investor money, need to get a proper job, and then I thought I'd go to Grip, because the thing is, I really passionately believe about in my whole life, whether it's personal or business life, is bringing people together really, really works. You know, the best experiences I've ever had is where I've met someone face to face, and that's why I joined Grip, because that's what Grip does. And I think that's why we're talking today, because I really believe in the power of events to generate revenue, generate pipeline, generate awareness. They're bloody hard to do. Hopefully, through this talk we're going to have today, I can give you some real-life practical examples of how we do it at Grip, and I've done it over my whole career, because I've generated hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in revenue just by having involvement in events, but also creating our own events. And there's so many little tips and tricks you can do, all wrapped up in data, because we're seeing this whole data thing at the moment, and it's like, right, we're at this conference, you're probably going around, and everyone's got an AI-powered BDM or BDR, and people are kind of trying to sell you new generative AI ways of selling. And actually, when you go back to basics, when you look at all of this kind of outbounding and all these cold messages, where do they all end up? They end up in these playbooks that all these vendors talk about. They're like, right, then you can roll out your playbook once you know who you want to target, and you've got your AI-generated copy. So what's the actual playbook? And a lot of them go, you can run an event. It's like, yeah, but how does it actually work? Because if your event's rubbish, no amount of generative AI goodness and all this money you're investing in intent data with 6 Sense and Bombora is going to do anything, because that end playbook, the end campaign, is just going to fall short. So hopefully we can kind of give you a few ideas about how we do it today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's nice coming from your angle, Hugh, as like you said, an experienced event marketer, from the organizing side, then from the tech side, and also from the exhibiting side. I mean, just quick show of hands, how many people actively exhibit or run events as part of their marketing mix at the moment? Okay. All right. It's better than the last session I did. There were some hands. That's good. Well, look, we're going to try and change that and add more people, to that group at the end. But I think it's, definitely from inside our world, I've seen a huge surge in the number of corporate companies getting involved in events over the last kind of 3 years, pretty much since COVID. And you touched on the kind of genuine connection side of things. Obviously, a huge part of of anyone's marketing mix is going to be how can you generate data, how can you generate data with context. And there's all sorts, like you said, of the automation side of things to help smooth processes. But in terms of the face-to-face element and the genuine connections you get, how does that fall into your marketing mix, and how does that give you more context to then go and sell your product to new regions?
Yeah, so we do lots of different events at Grip. We go and exhibit at events, but that's really expensive, and you've got to have the right ICP at those events, obviously. One thing we do is reverse networking. So we send our sales reps to various events just to go and meet a bunch of people, try and set up meetings beforehand. So one thing I would say with Grip is, you could come to this sort of event if your ICP is here. Say you're selling to marketers. You could either go and sell to the tech companies who are exhibiting at the shows as well. So that's another good way to do it. But really lean into the event apps that you get given. A lot of people don't do this. They don't set up their profile in the right way, and they don't then look at the directory. There's a directory on these apps that tell you who is going to be at this event. Just start going through that and filtering it, and set up a list of people you want to reach, and just outreach to them and say, look, I'm going to this event. Do you want a coffee? What we always do at Grip is we try and lead with content. So that's really, really key. So come up with a bit of content that's interesting, and then look at their website, see what their CEO's been talking about. So CEO often has written a press release about the new direction for the company. So you can get into their kind of data and create something that's really, really personalized. So then you can set up these meetings at events, whether you're kind of just meeting people randomly as you're walking the trade show floor, or whether you're setting up pre-existing meetings. So definitely going to events and leveraging them that way is a good way to do. And then running your own events as well. So one thing that we've used before, user conferences. We do webinars. Webinars are one of our best performing channels. We got one on the 26th of September. With webinars, a lot of people say they don't work. Some organizations, they don't work. Some they do. For Grip, it really works because we're targeting event organizers. And so guess what? Event organizers like going to events. Who knew? And so webinar is a kind of an event. The great thing with webinars is that you have to kind of pitch it to your senior leadership team, because the senior leadership team are going, why are you spending all this time on webinars? They take a lot of time. What we do is we say, look, it's not the webinar. It's the long tail content off the back of the webinar. So if you look at our LinkedIn page, you'll see a load of snippets. We call them snippets. So we take video snippets that are like 30 seconds, a minute, and then we find the most interesting thing that one speaker has said, and then we post those on LinkedIn. So don't see the webinar as a one-time event. See it as a content generation factory, because you can take the insights, turn them into a blog post, turn them into these snippet videos. And then when we have our webinars, the key thing is invite your ICP on the webinar, and this goes for events as well. Invite them on, because your ICP want to see other ideal customer profiles with you. They want to learn from them. They don't typically want to hear from a software vendor. They want to hear from their peers. So I know it's really, really hard, and a lot of people we do webinars with are like, well, I could never get a customer on my webinar. And that kind of starts right from the beginning. Get some really great customer relationships. Get yourself a customer advisory board, bring them together, and then start asking them to bring, so they're like C-level people, bring their team on the journey to go on the webinars with you. And then when they're on the webinars, you can also bring in other interesting people. So our little hack is that we invite partners. And what we do is we get partners on the webinar as well. So we've got a panel of people. We've got some ICP that our ICP care about. But then we've got like a partner who we can get them to email their database to say, come to this event, come to this webinar. So then we harvest all their leads as well. And that works really, really well. So yeah, we do webinars, one of our best performing channels. And then something that works every single time, and I'm sure some of you have done it in the audience, VIP roundtable dinners, or breakfasts,
Absolutely.
or lunches. They always, always work. They're hard.
Yeah,
So what you'll see is there'll be a lot of vendors around here who will say, right, we're going to sell you a tech solution, AI-powered X, because it's easy. You've probably all seen this new London startup, 11x.ai. They got huge amounts of funding the other day, literally this week, just got announced. And I went on their website the other day, and it was like, get your own AI BDR or SDR. They will work for you. They'll call people, cold call, and it's just a robot. And that's all great. You know, you're saving money. It's easy. But what that means is that everybody else is going to do it because it's easy.
And you wonder whether, you know, particularly with that, I think there's a huge amount of very useful innovation coming in the AI space, particularly with outreach. But, you know, my gut feel and talking to a lot of organizers in the space is that should be one part of quite a complex marketing mix that you have. I think the reliance on having an AI-driven BDR, like you said, or just doing outreach from an automated perspective, you may reach more people, but the connection that you're making with those people is so minimal, it's so surface level. Yes, I know you can even personalize emails or phone calls to a certain perspective, but we've been exhibiting here today and yesterday. We've managed to have 50 to 60 conversations with people. You qualify them on site. You work out whether they're a reader, whether they're a potential speaker, a contributor, an advertiser, an exhibitor. You work that out from having that 5-minute conversation with you. The outreach might get you a reply. It might get you, you know, your foot in the door, but without any context. And actually, context on our side is generally what makes the sale. I don't know if you feel the same on your side.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, SDRs, whether AI or not, they're great for getting people to come to your event. So as I said, at the end of this whole funnel is, what's the offer? You know, what are you pitching them? It could be a bit of content, but actually everyone loves to come to an event. It can be really, really hard. So what we often do for these VIP ones, we use SDRs and they invite people to come to the event. That works well. But you've got to think about the content, obviously.
Absolutely.
And it's like you know, I've had other bosses before who've said, we need to do it in our office. It's like, no, there are a bunch of hooks here. The hook is, it's a great venue. It's like a Michelin-starred dining experience. If you can't afford a dinner, dinners are really expensive because alcohol. We do breakfasts, because people are there for a certain amount of time. If they're C-level or C-level -1, they want to get back into the office. So do a breakfast, start at 8:30 a.m., finish at 10, works fantastically. Works very well in London. It depends on your geography. We've had not so much success, and I've spoken to a lot of other CMOs in our category who don't have much success with New York, for example, because people just don't travel in. Think about your day when you're doing it as well. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, people are in the office, great time to do it. Also, think about hijacking somebody else's event. So look at large conferences where your ICP hang out, and then put on a fringe event. So do that breakfast event the day after the first day of a multi-day conference. And then you can leverage the fact that they're all going to be in a certain area and a certain place at one time to put on your own events. So yeah, I would say definitely look at VIP engagements.
Absolutely.
One we did, I got a 250 grand deal off the back of it once, and how that worked was...
Pays for breakfast then?
Yeah.
Imagine.
Delaunay, it's like a Michelin, 1-star Michelin star place in Aldwych. Really great food. They got a private dining room out the back. And it costs us 750 quid. You can also get partners to come and join in and share the costs.
Yeah, and I think, sorry, just jumping in there, look, I think all of these are great. Again, we run a load of roundtables. Roundtables are absolute gold. I think focus groups are always a thing that were brought up. I suppose this is our equivalent, but instead of, you know, instead of bringing them on that level, you treat them like VIPs and you get more insight off the back of it. I also think it's important to create so with all of our roundtables and all of our summits, the conversations, we operate on a Chatham House rules level. The conversation stays in the room, it's for our benefit and it's for their benefit. It's not something that we're trying to sell on necessarily. It's not even something that we're trying to get sponsored. The insight that you get of having a real conversation with 9 of your ideal client base, even if they don't even sign up with you off the back of it, the insight that you get if you're having a real conversation is invaluable. And again, it's something that you can only really have when you meet someone face to face.
Well, and then I think don't forget the content as well.
Absolutely.
Because you could be, we sent a video recorder in, a producer, and he was recording snippets from the people in the room at the end. And you can write blog posts, you can have a report at the end of stuff you've learned. It's a goldmine, really.
Absolutely. Just touching on the exhibiting part, because we are a trade show, so I thought I may as well. There are, like you said, there's big outlay. There's huge benefits to exhibiting, and I think the key is that you use the data in the right way, you use the technology in the right way. But what would you say would be your your checklist for wanting to exhibit at any show or for any brand that's looking to dip their toe?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Are your ICP there, so your ideal customer profile, are they actually at the event? I mean, that is key. And I came into Grip 3 years ago now, and unfortunately, you have to kiss a lot of frogs. You have to go to a lot of events and realize.
Is that part of the job, is it?
Yeah. I do a lot of kissing of marine life. It happens every day. So you spend the first year going to a lot of events and getting a lot of promises from event organizers that say, yeah, it's great, the audience is here, and then you realize the ones that don't provide the ROI. I suppose this is the kind of data piece, is how do we track whether we do get ROI from events?
Yeah.
And so what we do at Grip, we have quotas for our sales reps who are going to these events, and the quotas are based on leads. They're kind of soft quotas, so number of leads generated. We've got attributed revenue as well, so we're looking at how much revenue we're getting from new and existing customers, because often there are quite a few customers at these events hanging around, and so we make sure account managers are there to go and meet their customers, and that's all tagged in Salesforce on the way home on the train. Get them downloading the Salesforce app and putting in the data of who they've met, attached to that campaign.
Because the follow-ups, just to jump on it, I mean, would you say that there's a definitive amount of time that you need to leave it before it's a dead lead?
Straight away, obviously, if they've asked for a demo, do a demo, take all the laptops, do it at the actual show.
Yeah.
But don't just follow up and go, do you want to buy anything? Do you want to buy some software? It's like the worst thing in the world. Like content. Have a great bank of content. What we've done at Grip is we've created a Notion board with all our content, and we've mapped the content to different funnel stages.
Yeah.
So we know at what funnel stage, so if someone's late stage funnel, they'll get a case study. If they're really early, are they solution aware? We'll probably give them a blog post. If they're not even problem aware, we'll send them to a webinar. So give them the right content at the right stage.
Have a definitive funnel as well, based off the decisions of the customer.
Yeah, okay. Exactly.
And so I suppose looking into the future of events, like I said, the last few have been a real surge in terms of non-core events companies bringing themselves into the world. Yeah. What would you say the next 3-4 years is going to look like with the ascension of AI and playing off the face-to-face, against that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say this, wouldn't I? But I really believe in the fact that we've got all this generative AI now, and what that means is that I get a lot of, I'm sure we all do, cold outreach messages from like people, BDRs, SDRs on LinkedIn. I've turned off my notifications on LinkedIn, by the way. They're hammering.
Mine's very selective, but I think I'm going to turn off as well.
But the quality of the emails and the quality of the messaging that I'm getting is very good, and I think it's too good. So I'm getting a lot of ChatGPT messages to me, and I'm thinking to myself, if everyone's got access to this technology and the friction is so low to use it, we're all going to get spammed loads. So you're going to get this tragedy of the commons, which is kind of where fishermen just overfish the seas, and then there's nothing left for everybody else.
Yeah.
And I think we're just going to get so bombarded with so much AI-generated spam that in 5 years, events are going to be 5x bigger than they are now, because people will prize actual human connection. They trust that they know it's a human, so they'll want to go to an event because they know it's not some AI-generated thing, because you can see someone there in the flesh. Warren Buffett's got this great, my favorite quote of all time, which is, you'll never see eye to eye unless you meet face to face. And I would say that being an event, but I really, really believe that. So I would leverage the tools to make sure that you get the right meetings at events. So as I say, you go to a big trade show, get on the event app, leverage it, get your profile looking really great, find people to meet. Go and find events that leverage AI to make sure you have the right meetings. So I know you do this, which is really smart, and this is another tip for everyone. We are seeing a massive growth in requests to Grip from organizers about this new, it's not new, but it's been around for ages, hosted buyer format meetings.
Yes.
So look at your ICP, then just Google hosted buyer with your ICP to see if there's any events happening. Because what hosted buyer is, I'm sure we all know this, but it's fascinating. An organizer, actually you're an organizer, you do them. You explain how hosted buyer works.
Hosted buyer is something that I think is developed over the last 20 years, it was probably a pretty solid concept, and then people have tweaked with the model ever since. Is everyone, show of hands again, who's heard of a hosted by a format at an event? Okay, a few this time, that's fine. And 2 of them work with me, so so hosted by essentially is you get an exhibition like this, or you get a big conference or a summit. It's essentially a way of guaranteeing that you have a certain level of meetings with the people that you want. You know, if you have an open trade show format, it has benefits in another area, but you can't always guarantee the traffic, you can't always guarantee a certain number of meetings because it's all dependent on the flow of the exhibition. You may pick up other people that you weren't going to previously, but you certainly can't guarantee anything. And so hosted by is a different format of a trade show, essentially, where there are a select few from your entire universe that you invite along to a show. You have your VIP area, which are usually people with the highest level of spend opportunity or specifically looking for a solution at the show. Whatever it is, it's usually a heightened level of buying signal and power that come with. So the organizer will know this and will therefore identify them as a VIP group. As an exhibitor, as part of getting the stand at the show, you're also privy to essentially have pre-arranged meetings with this group. They host the group along at the show, they pay for their travel, they pay for their expenses, they put them up overnight, and in return, they have to complete a certain number of meetings. You worked originally in the trade show model. People have now adapted that as you look for more specificity on events. The hosted by model, it comes into a lot of summits now. So someone, instead of exhibiting at a show like this, would sponsor an event and have access to guaranteed 10 to 15 pre-arranged meetings with the profile that fits their buying signals, their solutions required, the budget that they want and the cycle that they want. So I suppose it's a way of, for people that are new into events and looking to generate some revenue or at least test the waters, my recommendation, I don't know about you're the same, would be look at something with pre-arranged meetings or look at something that's hosted by in the first instance, because then you can go back to your boss or whoever holds the purse strings, from your marketing budget and say, look, we've been trying to get in with X, X, and X for the last 3 years. I have already got a meeting with them when I sign. So it just adds that level of security, I suppose. I mean, is there anything you want to add on that?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. We did a hosted by a show with you at Global Event Tech Summit, and it was great. You basically pay for a bunch of meetings. And if you think about a show like this, all these exhibitors, what's the end result? It's like, well, I want some meetings and I want some deals off the back end. It's like, well, you're going to stand at a booth and wait and hope someone comes past, or you can just buy the meetings. And that's why it's taking off at the moment. And there are some huge trade shows that are starting to do it for the first time. So if whoever your ICP is, there's probably an event organizer that's doing this model. Some will call it hosted by, some will call it like pre-arranged, pre-scheduled, meet program. There's
a load of levels. I think there's hosted by, which is probably the most transactional sense, which is we're paying for you to be here. You do need to attend the meetings. I think pre-arranged meetings and working with someone, again, I've asked on this because we use Grip already, but using something where people can match up based on their interests and pre-arranged meetings, I think is fantastic, because then you've already got qualification on their interest, their buying levels, and it's a real meeting as opposed to maybe a slightly hostage-based meeting. So using it based on the interests, I think is essentially what everyone wants, because then the buyer's also happy taking the meeting as well.
Yep. And then, for the future, other things I would say, rapid fire, intent data. A lot of people are selling intent data here today. HubSpot just launched a new intent data tool. We got access to the beta this morning. It's great. You can spend a lot of money to get intent data with Bombora and 6 Sense. A lot of event managers, people in marketing, you don't have that sort of budget. And so just use those free tools. And with the intent, you can see who's looking at your events, who's looking at the webinar pages, what content they're interested in. Because then you can go and create an event off the back of the intent that you're seeing. So definitely leverage the intent data as much as you can. That would be my other top tip.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the casing point is, look into exhibitions, but I think the offering has to be specific. The audience has to guarantee to be there, and also the cycle for exhibiting starts way before you come onto the show floor. I mean, maybe probably about a month or so before Usually when generally does a typical networking app go live pre-show, would you say?
I think it's about 6 weeks out, something like that.
So you want to be looking 6 to 8 weeks out is when you want to start working out what you want to get out of the show. Look, yes, you sign, you get sold into it at the time, but actually the cycle of exhibiting is probably about a 10-week cycle, realistically, isn't it?
Yeah, and you won't like me for saying this, but here's another top tip. Whenever do you get a list of your ICP from someone? Like, it hardly ever happens. You have to spend ages researching them on LinkedIn. It's really, really hard. But people are interested in the event because you just go on this app, and you can even screenshot it. We've kind of done this. We screenshotted it. We've got it out of the app. We've OCR'd it. We've turned it into an Excel file. We definitely didn't do this, but you could do it if you wanted to. Go on Clearbit, go on Apollo. You can then match the names and the job titles with an email address, a telephone number, and then you can start reaching out to them and saying, oh, you're going to this event, do you want to catch up? You can also use retargeting as well. So get all the people from that event, retarget them with ads using their email addresses. You can also find lookalike audiences like them through the various ad networks, so Meta. That's a good one. TikTok's working quite well at the moment. So yeah, there's LinkedIn. There's lots of ways to leverage events to give you content, to give you outreach opportunities. They're just a goldmine, and I'm a big believer in them.
Absolutely. Well, look, I thought, well, we're being cut off. Okay. Well, look, thanks, everyone. If you want to learn more about events, we're over here. We've got loads of tips on how to make the most out of exhibiting. Hughes, probably you going to stick around for a bit if you can?
Yep, I'll be around.
More than happy to answer any questions about how you can maximise exhibiting. Sorry we didn't have time for questions in the end. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thanks, guys.